Hi. So I'm going to show you one small application that I have done based on the Java. This application is a employee management where you will log into a employee management console screen and doing the add employee, remove employee, listing of employee, update employee, and finding employee. Okay, so before getting into project uh, or application, let me tell you what kind of things I have included here and what is the layering I have done, what is the small architecture that is created here. So here what is happening, here you have, I'm using this whiteboard. Here you have user. Okay, here there is user. Okay, and user is using the screen that is in HTML. Okay, user is using a screen that is HTML. User is sending the request. Okay, user is sending request that is to a layer that is called controller layer. Okay, and this layer is called controller layer. Okay, so here controller I have made in the sublet. Okay, my what technology I have used, I used sublet here. Okay, so user request is coming here and controller that is based on the sublet. Sublet is basically uh, sublet is basically a java layer. It is written in the java, and it is basically like other classes, and it takes the http request and process that request and send that response in form of http response. So it sends one response to user. Okay, that's job of sublet. Okay, and what sublet does, sublet gets the http request and understands that request, then it sends back, delegates the request to next layer, that is your service layer. So this layer is service layer. This service layer is completely in Java. Okay, and this is a service layer. Right, so from this service layer, what service does layer does, it takes the request, does some validation given from servlet. It does some validation, and after doing some processing, it sends the information back to the servlet. Right, and service layer talks to another layer that is in again in Java. Okay, and this layer is called data access layer. It will do the all database operation of your request. So this layer is basically we call as a data access layer, data access layer, and this is written in Java. Okay, then we have data access layer. After data access layer, we have one database layer that is kind of my SQL database. Here what I have used. Okay, this is my database. Let me give a name. Database I am using MySQL. Okay, so this is what my structure. And in this layer, from here to here, there is a model. Model is nothing but your Java object like employee, where we are saving that model, we are retrieving that model, updating, finding that model based on the request. So that model object that is written in Java, okay, which will move, which will be referred in each of the layer, controller layer, service layer, and data access layer. Okay, so here I have user layer that is in HTML, sublet, controller layer that is in sublet, HTTP sublet, and we have service layer, data access layer, and database. And you can call this kind of things as a MVC. Okay, this structure is called model view and controller. Here your model is your employee class, and view is your HTML, where user is passing the request and showing the response on the user interface. Okay, and controller is your servlet, right? So this is model view controller MVC pattern. Okay, and here I have used a application server, that is Tomcat. Okay, so to deploy this whole application, we need to basically, when we create the application, we need to deploy that application. To deploy that application, we need one application server. Application server, here I have used that is Tomcat. Tomcat is application server, which has, in case of servlet, which has servlet controller, okay, servlet container, which will control the life cycle of servlet. Okay, so servlet has some life cycle. It has init, service, and destroy. So servlet controller initialize your servlet and calls init method, and it calls the destroy method. And service is based on the request. When request comes, then service will be called. Okay, to so call a servlet, you need to have two method, either get method or post method. I will tell you later what is the difference. So for now, you just understand that we have application server Tomcat, we have servlet that is written in Java. Okay, and we have user interface that is in HTML, and database we are using MySQL, and rest of things is everything in Java. Okay, now let's go to the application which I have created. So this is the application. When you have application in your local server, you have to run like this HTTP, and given the location of the application server. Right now I'm using my local host because Tomcat is available in my own system, so I'm using that. I have deployed my application into this server, which is available in my local host. So that's the reason I'm using local host. You can use any remote server. Suppose you are accessing Google, so you are using www.google.com. So google.com is the a kind of URL of the application where Google has hosted, right? So here I have hosted my application in my local box. So here that's the reason I'm giving localhost. And then port number. Generally, all the web application by default take the port as 8080. Okay, and this is my actual initial URL. So once you hit on that, you will see one admin login screen, and which will take login name and password. Right now, I have given login access to only one user, that is called admin. Okay, so login name is this one. Password is password. If I give any wrong password and click on that, I should see that something wrong. Okay, so it will give one link, try again. So I have to give the password as password. Okay, there is again something wrong. Let's try it again. Okay, so after giving the right credentials, I will come to one screen, that is employee console screen. So if you see at the top, there is employee console. Okay, in that I can take different kind of action. So there is action called add new employee, list employees, and find employees by name and log out. Once you log out, you can come back to this screen. Okay, so let me log in again. Okay, now add new employee. Here I am adding new employee, and in this screen I have one form here, and again on the right side I have one link go to console. So if you click on that, you will come here again on this, choosing the other actions. So click on add employee, give the name. I'm giving the name as Shiv Shativar, that's my name. Say date of joining is 03 July 2014. Okay, and date of birth, let's see, let's give it 2000. Okay, and salary I'm giving this one, department and R&D. I save it, I submit it, I should be seeing that there is some validation I have put. One of the validation is age below 18 is not allowed. Then it will give you a link to correct it. So it means that date of birth, between the difference between date of birth and date of joining should be at least 18 years, because below 18 years is not eligible for employment. Okay, so here I am giving say 1990. Okay, and there are few other validations like date of birth, uh, salary. I cannot give any alphanumeric value. If I try to do that, it will say that incorrect salary format, so I have to give some numeric value. Okay, and there are other validations I have put, like date of birth cannot be more than 2 day, right? No one can join. Okay, so date of birth cannot be less than 2 day. Date of birth cannot be less than 2 day. Oh, this is wrong message. Okay, so I have to correct the message. Let me correct the message here. Okay, so date of birth cannot be more than 2 day. So let's give some valid one and save it. So now it says that your employee has been saved by giving the message as success. Now if you go to console, you can list employees. Here you will see that whatever employees you have added, it will give you an employee ID, an employee name, date of birth, date of joining, department, which department it has joined, and some salary. Okay, so you can take few actions here. You can edit it and remove it, and find employee. You can give name, so you can find it. You have option to search it again. If you give search it again, if you find with any name like Diwali also, it will give the result, because this is a wild search. Why I have used wild search. Okay, if you used something else which is not there, there is no listing. So if you go to console and list member, and you can edit it. Here while editing you can edit only two information. One is department, one is its salary, because once employee has joined, you cannot, there is no need of changing its employee name, date of birth, employee id, and date of joining. So employee id is a non-editable field. Only department I can change, so I will change department for shift as admin, and salary I will increase to 12,000. Submit it. So you can see here department and salary has been changed. You have option to remove the employee. If you go here, listing, there is no listing at all. Okay. So this is what I have implemented. Let me show you how exactly this has been implemented. Okay. So as I said, there is a three layers. One is like HTML, okay, then servlet, then your servlet, sorry, your service repo and database. Basically, these are the major three layers. So user layer is completely on HTML. Okay, so the formation of HTML I am doing in this project is either through HTML page or through servlet. Okay, and this application is deployed in the uh, Tomcat application server. Okay, so let me show you the directory structure of the code. So this is my code. I have created one web application. You can create a web application like if you go to new project, web dynamic web project. So you have to say dynamic web project. Once you create that, you will see some kind of a structure where you have Java sources. Okay, you have certain libraries. Okay, and you have web content which has your files, HTML files. Okay, and one web.xml. For any web application, this is the very much important file, web.xml. Okay, so this web.xml will list all the servlets what you need, and in which case which servlet will be called, those information will be available here. So in servlet, in this web application, uh, along with this content, we have server. Okay, server I am using Tomcat server here. So if you see the detail of this server, so this server is Tomcat server. Okay, if you go to runtime environment, it is using the uh, location of where I have placed my Tomcat. Okay, and we have to give the location where bin folder starts. Okay, so and we have modules. Which module I have added here? So this will be nothing but your project name. Okay, so you can give the path. Right now I'm not using path, so once I give the local host and port, immediately I am calling this module name. Okay, now so what generally we need to do, you can run this application by doing like this. What you need to do, you have to first restart your server. So there is an option on server, you can start. Once your server is started, what it does, it will read your web.xml and initialize your servlets, all the servlets whatever you mentioned. Okay, so now let's go get into the first HTML pages. Okay, first HTML page is index.html. Okay, so index.html, what why I have given this is the HTML page which will be you are seeing on login page. Okay, here I have created two text boxes and one submit, one login button. So here what I have done, I have created one form. Okay, and these are the some HTML tags. Okay, After that, I have created one form, and when I create a form, I have mentioned the action as login console app.do and method is equal to post. So what it does in when it will look for application server will look for this particular sublet, this particular sublet mapping inside the web.xml. Okay, and based on the post method, there are two type of method, http method, that is get and post. So when you use get, what happens when you post the url, you can, your url will show all the details of your parameter, but when you use the post, it will not show the details of parameter. When I say details of parameter, when you are showing the full detail of parameter, you may be sending some sensitive information in the parameter that you can see in the url, like password. That's when people will use post, so that you cannot see the username password in the url. Okay, so that is one reason. There are other reasons as well. Okay, so what it does, it will look for this particular sublet inside this web.xml. So inside web.xml, we have, let me show you the structure, what it has. It has display name of the application, okay, and what is the welcome file. When my application starts and when I hit that URL, it will look for welcome file, that is index.html. Okay, so here I have put all the my HTML files inside this HTML folder, that is in web content here. Okay, and then it will have multiple servlets, servlet 1, servlet 2. So each servlet will have servlet name and corresponding Java class. Okay, so servlet name and servlet class, this should be always unique. Okay, and here we have a lot of servlets. Then we have servlet mapping. Servlet mapping is, again, you have to give the servlet name, and then you have to give this URL pattern. This URL pattern you have to provide when you are trying to take some action. So this is nothing but your action name. So based on the action name, like login console to app.do, it will look for that which servlet it belongs to. It belongs to login. Then it will go to the login servlet here and look for a Java class, that is login. Okay, if you open this login, so this is a servlet. Any class which you extend from HTTP servlet, that Java class will be a servlet. So here, as I said, there are three methods: init, destroy, and service. So init and destroy is basically controlled by servlet controller. So here I have not, here I don't want to do anything extra that that servlet container will take care of that. So if I want to do something extra in init and destroy, then I need to write something into that method. Here I am not doing anything. Here just I am writing the service method. So in this service method, in any servlet class, there is only one method which is overridden here. As I said, init and destroy is not overridden here because I don't need it. Service method is having a standard signature. It takes HTTP request and response and returns nothing. Okay. So what it will do? It will take that request, process that request, and send the response in the response object. Okay. So here, what is happening here in case of login? Once user will provide the username and password and click on login button, and type of that button is submit. Once you click on, when you give any button type as any input type is submit, once you click on that, it will automatically take the action from the form, okay, which is here login console to app, and process it. Okay, once you hit here, it will come to this exit is service method. So in this service method, what I'm saying that what is the next page? Next page is employee console.html. So If you see employee console.html, this page is having inside the form, okay, it has few URLs like add new employee, list employee, and find employee and logout. Okay, so on click of add new employee, it will go to the HTML add employee.html. On click of list employees, it will go to the method called submit form. Submit form here is it will submit this document, okay, this form, it will submit it, because in this form I have mentioned as a list employee.do, it will be taking that action and submitting it, okay. Then it will go to the corresponding servlet and all those things. And here I have find employee by name. Once I click on that, I will go to one HTML page called find employee.html, and if I click on logout, I will again go to the index page. Okay, so once you click on login, it will go to the next page, that is empconsole.html. So here, if you click on this admin password, that is the next page it will go. But before going to here, because here I have just defined that next page, okay. So what it does, it will